Good evening. My name is Tennille Murray. I'm the Community Engagement Director at AJA. Tonight we have a fantastic guest joining us, an Israeli attorney and activist, Nitsana Darshan-Leitner. She is the founder of Shurat HaDin Israel Law Center in Tel Aviv. For years, Nitsana has been at the forefront of legal battles to safeguard Israel's interests, challenge terrorism, and confront movements aimed at delegitimizing the Jewish state. Tonight, we're going to be discussing the legal strategies that are shaping Israel's defense, the challenges that lie ahead, and what justice means in the aftermath of war. I'd like to say thank you to our supporter, Neil Miller, who brought to us Nitsana tonight and who connected us with Shurat HaDin Israel Law Center. As you'll hear tonight, they are a fantastic organization, and I know that they could do with more support from Australia, more support from us. So please listen. I'll pop links in the chat that you can find out more, and we'll discuss that later in our Q&A. If you have any questions, please use the raise hand button for our Q&A section. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, and please give a warm welcome, Nitsana.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this lovely introduction. Thank you, Neil, for inviting me. And thanks for the AJA, a great organization advocating for Israel. A pleasure to be with you all. On October 7, 2023, Hamas launched 5,000 rockets into Israel and then infiltrated into our country with massive of terrorists committing a massacre. People went into houses, mutilated people, beheaded people, raped women, burned children alive. 1,200 people got killed that day. More than 250 women, children, elderly were kidnapped to Gaza. Israel declared a war which had two goals: to dismantle Hamas and to bring back the hostages. I received a phone call shortly after from the Security National Services to join the war. That's not the first time I'm receiving such a phone call. I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing law in Israel for 25 years. And I started my practice fighting for Israel's behalf. The Intifada broke out. It was the year of 2000. Blood was spilled on the streets. And I thought, what can I do to join the fight? What can I do in order to fight back? I cannot let the Palestinian just shed blood of Jewish people, just kill Israeli innocent and go without pay. So I decided to do what lawyers do best, go after the pocketbooks of the terror organizations. And on my own, with my colleagues, we filed lawsuits against terror organizations and their financial patrons. Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Palestinian Authority, Iran, Syria. Cases went on in Israel, in the United States. People thought it's undoable. It doesn't make any sense. Why are you going after terror organizations? What will be the outcome of it? Can you really sue them? Can you really bring them to court? And if you win a judgment, can you really collect? What really are you doing? But we were determined. We were determined to make sure that nobody will kill Jews and go without pay. So we continued with these cases. And within 2 years, we started winning in court. Not only we won judgments against the terror organizations, we actually collected them on behalf of the victims. Victims received money. We were able to take money from the financier of these devastating terror organizations and give them to the one who deserve it most, the terror victims. So we are called by a special unit in the Mossad, a secret unit called Harpoon. It was headed by the legendary head of the Mossad, Meir Dagan. And this unit had representatives from all different security forces in Israel: the military, the Shabak, the Mossad, the intelligence, the defense ministry. But they had only one goal: to fight terror financing, to go after the terror money, to follow this money, to target this money, to kill this money. And Mary Dagan said that this tool of fighting terrorism in court, getting judgments, and going after the terror organization's assets is a major tool, and he can be used in the fight against the terror financing. They told us, why don't we collaborate? They will give us evidence that they accumulated during their operations, and we will use this hardcore evidence in court. It was a secret unit until we wrote a book about it called Harpoon. You can find it on Amazon. And it counts the war of Israel against terror financing and our work, Shurat HaDin, with this unit. And then what we did was basically fight for Israel. We sued Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah. We sued the Palestinian Authority. We sued Iran, Syria, North Korea. We sued Facebook, Twitter, Google, YouTube for aiding and abetting terrorism. And we were successful. We won billions of dollars in judgments. We collected a lot of money for the terror victims. We froze assets. We told the social media to behave. And then when it was BDS, we brought cases against Airbnb and Ben & Jerry's. And then when Israel was blamed for war crimes, we went to the International Criminal Court and filed lawsuits against Hamas leaders and the Palestinian Authority's leaders. And we were taking Israel's enemies to court. So after October 7, it was pretty natural that the security services will call us again to join the war. They ask us to do what we can in order to achieve the two goals of the war, to dismantle Hamas and to bring back the hostages. So I will begin with the hostages aspect. We realized that the hostages are being tortured in Gaza, might be raped, might be sexually abused. Most of them were wounded when they were taken in. And we demanded the Red Cross to go and visit the hostages and basically fulfill its obligation to go and give what the prisoners, what the hostages are needed. But the Red Cross said that they are not active in Gaza. It's the Red Crescent. They have no presence in Gaza. However, at the same time, we saw the Red Cross representative giving press comments to a slew of media outlets, calling for a ceasefire, complaining on a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. So the Red Cross is active in Gaza. And we urged them again and they refused. And then Prime Minister Netanyahu met with the head of the Red Cross, gave her a box full of medicine and urged her to take this box to the hostages. But the president of the Red Cross refused. She said, I'm not doing it, and wish Benjamin Netanyahu good luck. So we sued the Red Cross in court. We alleged that it's not a matter of ability. It's not that the Red Cross cannot visit the hostages in Gaza. They just refuse. And we showed how this is actually the policy of the Red Cross from day one. Already in the days of the Holocaust, the Red Cross refused to go and visit the prisoners in Auschwitz, the Jews in the concentration camps, seeing it as an internal German problem. Today, there is an apology on the website of the Red Cross. If you open the website, you see a note saying that perhaps it was a mistake not to visit the Jews in the concentration camps. I don't need to open the Red Cross website in a couple of years and see an apology. Perhaps it was a mistake not to visit our hostages in captivity in Gaza. So I took the Red Cross to court. Then we went after the UN, because the UN has a special organization that's supposed to treat the refugees that are living in the Gaza Strip. 75% of the Gazan civilians are refugees that fled to this area in 1948. The UN established a special organization called UNRWA to reach out to these refugees, provide them with food, shelter, clothing, and work. But instead, the UNRWA organization became part of Hamas. All these years, we knew that that UNRWA is teaching the children in Gaza to hate the Jews, showing that there is only one state, a Palestinian state, teaching in math how many Jews are needed to be killed in order to satisfy how many murders from Hamas. But on October 7, we saw that UNRWA actually participated in the massacre. I represent Jonathan Semirano, a beautiful young man that was murdered on October 7th. And on a video, you can see two UNRWA officials take his body into an UNRWA vehicle and drive into the Gaza Strip. A doctor and a teacher of UNRWA were caught keeping hostages in their house. During the war, under every facility of UNRWA, under every kindergarten, school, medical center, there were tunnels. In each and every one of these facilities, there are launchers and missiles and rockets. The head of UNRWA said he didn't know. But it makes some noise to dig a tunnel underneath your office. It makes some view to see piles of rockets and launchers just across the street from you. So we took UNRWA to court. We sued UNRWA on behalf of the hostages' families and the victims of October 7. If UNRWA thinks that as a UN organization they have immunity, they are completely wrong. Our theory says that according to the UN treaty, any organization that is working for the UN or any organ of the UN has to avoid terrorism. That's a treaty. And if someone is wrongly act against this treaty and not supporting terrorism, but being embedded with Hamas, could not enjoy the immunity that this treaty imposes. We have these cases in Israel, in the United States, moving forward. But the other goal of the war was to dismantle Hamas. And that's something that's supposed to be in the hands of the army. For 2 years, Israel went into Gaza and trying their best to kill all the terrorists, to destroy all the military facilities and all the civil facilities that became military by the actions of Hamas. Unfortunately, with no success. Hamas is still thriving. Hamas is still in the Gaza Strip. And despite this ceasefire, the deal that, according to it, Hamas is supposed to disarm itself, according to the deal, Hamas is supposed to leave the Gaza Strip. Everybody knows that it's not going to happen. Hamas already declared that there is no intention from their side to disarm. There are even 200 terrorists hiding in the Israeli area that are demanding to go free despite the agreement, not turning on their weapon, just thinking that there is no much Israel can do. Because if after 2 years, Israel was not able to kill the terrorists from Hamas, to destroy all its military facilities, to destroy all its ammunition, Israel will not be able to do it in the future. So what we in Shurat HaDin are doing is crushing Hamas in a different way, in the civil way. And this is going after all their funding from all over. If it's the Palestinian Authority that used to give Hamas $1 billion a year, no more. We sued them in court. If it's the Qatari Charity Foundation that used to give Hamas hundreds of millions of dollars a year, no more. We are filing lawsuits against this charity. Binance, the cryptocurrency exchange, which Hamas uses as a platform to raise funds. You know, there is a limit to how much currency you can bring into the Gaza Strip, or there is no way for Hamas to use the banking system. So when they launched a fundraising campaign, they told their donors, don't give us dollars, don't send us any wires, we can't collect it, send us cryptocurrency. And Binance was warned and was told both by the United States and the Israeli government that they are serving a designated organization, and they ignored it. So we took Binance to court. These cases will go on for some time in court, but they will have the effect right away. And I will tell you very briefly about a case where we took to court. We did not give up. We never give up until the victory. Jonathan Bauer was 7 years old when he was walking with his father, coming back from a medical appointment in Jerusalem, back then in August 2001. Jaffa Street, I'm sure you know, is a very busy street. But right in front of them was a very tall guy, wide shoulders, walking towards them. What I didn't know back then, that was the guy was a Palestinian policeman. They also didn't recognize the explosive vest that he was wearing around his waist. And then the man looked at Jonathan's eyes and blew himself up. Jonathan lost his consciousness. He was rushed to Shaarei Tzedek Hospital in Jerusalem. And for 4 days, the doctor had many operations on him, trying to take out all the bolts and pins and nuts and screws that went into his arm and his leg. In the end, after 4 days, the doctors woke him up, and he told his parents that there is one bolt remain in his brain that they were too afraid to take out. Today, Jonathan talks. He doesn't talk like we do. He walks. He doesn't walk like we do. He's disabled for life. That wasn't the only attack perpetrated by Palestinian policemen. In the beginning of the Intifada, many, if not thousands, of terror attacks were done, assisted, initiated by employees of the Palestinian Authority. So we decided to take the Palestinian Authority to court, in a federal court in the United States. We filed a case. The Palestinian Authority hired a boutique law firm from Washington, D.C., came to court, filed motion to dismiss. All were denied. 11 years, the case went to discovery deposition, and then finally went to trial. It was a jury trial, opened in January 2015 in New York, and the Palestinian Authority had a defense. They said, indeed, the terrorists were our employees, but they were rogue employees. They did the attacks after work hours. It wasn't our policy to kill Israelis. We were against killing Jews. But when the trial opened, they found it hard to explain to the jury. If they were rogue employees, how do you keep paying their salary until today? Your pay-for-slave policy gives these terrorists compensations on a monthly basis. You pay stipends to the families of the suicide bombers. You call town squares and streets on the names of the suicide bombers. This is not how you treat rogue employees. This is not where your policy is against killing Jews. There was no surprise there. Then when the jury went to deliberation and came back, They found the Palestinian Authority responsible for all the acts of terrorism and gave us a judgment against them for $655 million. The Palestinian Authority was in shock. They fired their boutique law firm from Washington, D.C., hired a new firm from New York, and filed an appeal. In the United States, in order to file an appeal, you have to post a bond for the entire amount of the lawsuit. The Palestinian Authority said that they don't have $655 million to put in the court. So they reached out to the State Department for help, and the State Department, under Obama's administration, helped. They came to court with a statement of interest saying that the Palestinian Authority is a national security asset of the United States in the Middle East. They wanted to keep existing to the side of the state of Israel. They don't want it to go bankrupt. And they asked the court to be considerate. And the court was. Instead of $655 million, the court imposed $10 million only. And then the way for the Palestinian Authority to open its appeal was open. They came and argued one argument. They did not argue against the jury verdict or against the testimonies of the victims or the expert reports we filed in the case or the tens of thousands of documents we put in the case. They had only one technical argument: personal jurisdiction. They said the Palestinian Authority is not in the United States. They don't have any business in the United States. They don't have a representative in the United States. There are no ties to the United States, and therefore there is no personal jurisdiction. And the Court of Appeals had a dilemma because we filed this lawsuit based on the Anti-Terrorism Act. This is a law from 1996 that Congress legislated that allowed American citizens that were killed or injured abroad to bring their cases against a terror organization in the United States. It's an extraterritorial jurisdiction law. On the other hand, the American Constitution demands due process, personal jurisdiction. But having in front of them the State Department statement that's saying in these words or others, no matter what you impose on the Palestinian Authority, they don't have the money to pay, the Court of Appeals went and vacated the judgment. We went to the Supreme Court, asked for a writ. Supreme Court, knowing that there is a new pharaoh that didn't know Joseph, now there is new administration, Trump, went to the State Department and asked for a position, but the State Department upheld the statement of the previous State Department and said, this law is unconstitutional, you need personal jurisdiction, and the Supreme Court rejected our writ. We didn't stop. We never stopped. We went to Congress and told them that there is a problem. There is a problem because we litigated this case for 15 years based on a very well-intended law that they legislated, but now it was struck by the court for being unconstitutional. And they have to fix the problem. And their way to fix the problem is to reinstate personal jurisdiction. To come and say that if the Palestinian Authority wants to keep receiving aid from the United States government, they must be conceived to agree to personal jurisdiction. Congress changed the law. President Trump signed off the law, and the Palestinian Authority declared they no longer want to receive aid from the United States government. That went only for 1 year. After that, they came, they needed the money, they went back and received US aid, and we went to court. But we lost. The court said that with all due respect, Congress has no authority to establish personal jurisdiction. We filed an appeal, we lost the appeal. But when we went to the Supreme Court of the United States, the Supreme Court accepted and issued a writ, and in its decision said that there is no way that the Palestinian Authority will pay money to the murderers of American citizens and go without pay and claim that there is no personal jurisdiction in the United States. If the Palestinian Authority receives aid from the United States government, if the Palestinian Authority pay money to those who kill US citizens, there is personal jurisdiction against them. And we are now back in court reinstating the judgment. I'm sure that by the end of the day, the terror victims will receive their compensations. But I'm told until then, I'm told by the security services in Israel that the Palestinian Authority leaders could not believe how the little support they gave the terrorists before the attack, how the money they paid them after the attacks turned in the end of the day to hundreds of millions of dollars against them. And this is the lesson. Whoever is aiding and abetting terrorism will find himself in court paying hundreds of millions of dollars compensations to his victim. I will end by that. The war is not ending. But now we have a third goal: to protect our soldiers, to protect the state of Israel from allegations of war crimes. This is a third arena that Shurat HaDin must go in with full force, because despite this horrific massacre that the Hamas commit on October 7, we are the one who are blamed for war crimes. We are the one who are charged with genocide. We are the one that the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants against its leaders. Israel, a democratic state that's fighting for its life against unleashed terror organization, bloodthirsty terror organization that swore to do October 7th again and again and again. So we went and brought a lawsuit against the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court for helping Hamas, for instead issuing arrest warrants against the Hamas leaders in Doha. Don't issue arrest warrants against Khaled and against Ismail Haniyeh that was killed by Israel, or against Yahya Sinwar that was killed by Israel, or against all the terrorists that Israel can take care of because they're in Gaza and their end is very clear and expected. Go against those who are sitting freely in Doha. Touch them, threaten them. They are the only one who could have brought to a deal. And we saw that the moment Israel tried to target these Hamas leaders in Doha, immediately Qatar went, put pressure on Hamas, and conveyed them to sign the ceasefire. He could have done it many, many, many months ago. We also went and filed a lawsuit against the Hamas leaders in the International Criminal Court, but we are mainly going against those who are convincing everybody that Israel is committing war crimes. The one who take Hamas ideology and spread it all over the world as it was true. The media. First, we went after Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera, we claim, is aiding and abetting Hamas. Very easy to prove. Al Jazeera paid Hamas terrorists to get interviews, paid Hamas terrorists to walk them through during October 7 and after, collaborates with Hamas. Everything Hamas says is ironclad truth, and they put it all over the world. And they are liable for the damages of the victims of October 7, according to the Anti-Terrorism Act. Under the Anti-Terrorism Act, you have to prove that not only Al Jazeera aided and abetted Hamas, they had the intention to do so. Clearly, easily, Al Jazeera is owned by Qatar. Qatar is an enemy state of Israel, and therefore they should be liable. But I want to go after the major newspaper, the one that lays on the offices of prime ministers and presidents and read by all, and is the most popular newspaper in the world that shaped public opinion, the New York Times. The New York Times, day after day, has headlines, big letters, black and white. Israel commits genocide. Israel commits war crimes. Israel intentionally imposed starvation in Gaza. Things which are definitely not true. And what the New York Times relies on the health ministry of Gaza, which is Hamas office. What it relies on speeches and claims that people from Hamas are putting on social media, not checking anything, not constructing anything. And if they made a mistake, no apology whatsoever. The peak was the picture of this baby, thin baby held by his mother. The New York Times said he's dying from starvation, where he actually had a genetic disease. The New York Times is the most anti-Semitic newspaper, along with the BBC. But in order to file a lawsuit against the New York Times under the Anti-Terrorism Act, you really need to show intention that the New York Times shared the goals of Hamas, that he wanted Jews to be killed. And that is a hard thing to prove. So what we're doing is using the criminal aspect of the Anti-Terrorism Act. And according to the criminal aspect of the Anti-Terrorism Act, everyone who's aiding and abetting Hamas can be prosecuting by the United States Department of Justice. So we are now working on a report collecting all the articles of New York Times published in the past year and a half, showing how the New York Times intentionally, systematically stood to the side of Hamas, bringing it to the Department of Justice and demanding to open a criminal investigation against the New York Times. This is a fight that is done by the civil sector. We are not government officials. We are not soldiers. We are lawyers. And with support of the private sector, we are fighting back. Our goal is to make sure that October 7th never happens again. And I will end just with a story. Michael, Amalia, and Avital was brothers and sisters living in Kfar Gaza. When Hamas went into their house, 7 o'clock in the morning, and murdered the parents. Michael, and kidnapped the little baby. She was 3 years old. Michael, 9 years old, is calling the police, 101. And the one who answered the phone was a policewoman. And the kid, Michael, told her, what shall I do? There are terrorists near my house. And she told him, where are your parents? She said, the terrorists killed them. She said, are you sure? He said, yeah, they're just right in front of me. She told him, who is with you in the house? She said, Amalia, my sister. How old is she? She asked. He said, she's 5 years old. The policewoman said, is there a bed you can hide underneath it? Michael said, there is a bed, but it's too low. I can't hide underneath it. The policewoman said, is there a closet you can hide underneath it? Michael said, yes, there is a closet. So the policewoman told him, take your sister Amalia, go into the closet, close the door, and don't open it until the IDF soldiers will call your name. And he took his sister Amalia and went into the closet and waited 9 hours until the IDF soldiers came and called his name. In what era children have to hide in a closet for their life? When we swore never again, we meant never again. And in order to make sure that Hamas is crushed and never get up again, and Israel will live safely in its country, and the world will not put sanctions on us, and let us defend ourselves freely and proudly, we need to fight back. And we'll do it with the support of all the Jews around the world. The Jews in Israel are fighting on behalf of the world Jewry, and we will do it together, because only together we are going to win. Thank you very much.
Wow, Nitsana, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your powerful message. Really, it's an inspiration to listen to you. We'll start our questions, but first we'll go to Robert Gregory, the AJA CEO.
Thank you, Nitsana. I just want to, thank you for an amazing talk. And thank you, Neil, for organizing. And just wanted to quickly ask you, I think you touched on it briefly. Israel's just passed the first reading of the death penalty for terrorists law. Will that actually end up being law? What are the implications, and what does it all mean?
Israel has a problem, a serious problem, to prosecute the Nukhba terrorists, those who committed the massacre on October 7. The reason is that there are no evidence that can tie each and every terrorist to the murder, to the rape, to the wrongdoing that he did that day. Very, very hard. Israel, when he went into the kibbutzim and the Nova Festival, did not treat the area as a crime scene. Its main goal was to bury the dead. They did not photograph anything. They did not collect the evidence needed. There are no much evidence that can bring these terrorists for a real trial. And therefore, there is a legislation now in the Knesset that try to deal with it as a conspiracy, as come and say all the people who participated in the massacre are part of the conspiracy for a genocide, and therefore they should deserve what genocide comes with, which is a death penalty. Separated from this proposal, which our Justice Ministry has troubled to advance, in the end of the day, it is a problem. And this proposal is a little bit extreme to their opinion. They try to find other ways, maybe mellower ways to deal with the terrorists. There was an initiative of another law just to impose death penalty on those who are killing Israeli citizens, who are killing Jews in a terror attack. And the proposal was stuck in the Knesset for many years until today. Why today? Why it got up today? Because we realized that with this prisoner release deals or hostage release deal, when Israel is compelled to release the most horrible terrorists in the world, people that killed 60 Jews, people that killed 25 Jews, people that the blood on their hand is as red as you've never seen before, Israel is left with no answer. I mean, if we let these terrorists go, where is justice? Where is the precautions? Where is the answer to these terrorists? So perhaps the right way to deal with the terrorists is to impose the death penalty against them. And again, the Minister of Justice has problems to swallow such a law because Israel have never executed a terrorist. The only person that Israel executed ever was Eichmann with a special law. And therefore, we don't know how this law will develop. If the law really deters terrorists from committing attacks, it's one thing, but it's not really clear. There is no study that shows that. Also, imposing death penalty on terrorists might cause a reaction from the other side that the terrorists will increase their activity to kidnap Jews, kidnap Israelis, and slaughter them as a response. So it's a dilemma, but the law passed the first call in the Knesset, and we'll see if it's going to really get legislated.
Thank you, Nitsana. We'll start our audience Q&A with our one of our founding members, Michael Bird. Please unmute.
Yeah, hi, Nitsana. I still remember the tour I went with you and your lovely husband, Avi. It was one of the best tours I've been on. My question to you, Nitsana, is number one, Mandami in New York is threatened to arrest Bibi if he ever came. My question to you is legally, does he have the authority to do it and can that be done? And the quick second question is, more importantly, are you going to be taking legal action against the Palestinians, the PA or Hamas, for restitutions for starting this war, including the destroying of the kibbutzes, paying the families, etc.? Is that something that you're doing, you're thinking of doing? Can you do it?
Okay, thank you for these questions. Mamdani can declare anything he wants and basically can send his police forces to arrest Netanyahu in JFK if he lands. But he has no legal authority to do so because United States is not part of the International Criminal Court. And those arrest warrants that the International Court issued against Netanyahu are not valid in the United States. So basically, Netanyahu has Mamdani has no reason/authority to do so. He can physically, practically, he can, but legally, he's not allowed to. And Trump has a slew of steps that he already threatened to take once Mamdani not only arrests Netanyahu, but take any anti-Semitic act that he declared to do. By the way, Shurat HaDin is planning also a line of places where the federal government is funding the city of New York, theaters, museum, roads, a subway, anything that has to do with the federal government funding. And once Mandami does one thing against Jews, against Israelis, he's violating the Anti-Discrimination Act in the United States, which is a federal law. And we are going to issue letters to the federal government to cut all its funding to New York City. The Palestinian Authority, Marcus, has been giving the Hamas $1 billion a year since 2005, when Hamas took over Gaza. The reason they're doing it is because they want to show that it's one Palestinian state, it's one Palestinian Authority, that there is no difference between Judea and Samaria to Gaza. And the only way to show it, because PLO, which Mahmoud Abbas, Abu Mazen, is the head of in the Palestinian Authority, is not welcome whatsoever in Gaza. As a matter of fact, when Hamas took over Gaza, they threw out the PLO representatives, not from Gaza, but from the roofs of Gaza, killing them. Nevertheless, Mahmoud Abbas is giving $1 billion to the Palestinian Authority, money that was supposed to go to the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, in Gaza, some projects, municipalities, and other, which they did. But since Hamas is the government in Gaza, and these are the one who collects the taxes in Gaza, they were supposed to take care of this infrastructure of Gaza. If somebody else pays for the health ministry and the education and the municipalities and the project, Hamas has $1 billion free to use for its military operation. And this is how they build their underground tunnels and brought tens of thousands of missiles and launchers and rockets into the Gaza Strip. So yes, we are suing the Palestinian Authority, both in Israel and the United States, on behalf of the October 7 victims. They will have to pay.
Thank you, Nitsana. Charlotte, would you like to unmute?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, we had by some of the Palestinian terrorism, we had a victim here, dual citizen Malki Roth, Arnold Roth's daughter, who was killed in the tragic pizzeria suicide bombing in Jerusalem. And I know that poor family has been tortured by this for more than 10 years, and we're trying to file a case in the United States court. I was just wondering if Shurat HaDin had any involvement in it.
Yes, so Malki Roth was killed in the Sbarro bombing attack in Jerusalem in 2001. She was an American citizen, and her father, her family brought a lawsuit against Iran in the United States, received a judgment, and are pursuing justice against those who help Hamas. But their main battle, and we also represent victims from the Sbarro attack, also going after Iran and others and won judgments. But their main battle of the Roth family is actually going after the perpetrator and the one who assisted the murder, Ahlam al-Tamimi. Ahlam al-Tamimi is a Palestinian woman. She was a lawyer. She took the terrorist in her car and drove him to Jerusalem and dropped him in the Sbarro pizza place. They were looking for the most hopping place full of people, and Sbarro fit the criteria. And after she dropped him, she went back and took the bus. She took the bus to Jordan because she wanted to escape. And on the bus, she's saying that she heard that there was a terror attack in Sbarro. Many people get killed. And then they said 5 people got killed. And after 15 minutes, they said there are 2 more people get killed. And then after 10 minutes, there was another 2 people got killed. In the end, there were 13 people that got killed in this attack. And she confesses that she was very happy to hear 1 more, 2 more, 3 more Jews getting killed. She was arrested, put in jail, and was released in the Gilad Shalit deal. And then she went to Jordan and became a TV star, celebrity in Jordan. And therefore, the Roth family, along with us, are pursuing Ahlam Tamimi. We demanded the United States to ask for the extradition of Ahlam Tamimi back to the United States for killing American citizens. Under Obama, there was a case opened against Ahlam Tamimi, never asked the extradition. Recently, Trump came and said that there are, not Trump, I'm sorry, Biden came and said that we are asking the extradition of Ahlam Tamimi, but I will assure you, Ahlam Tamimi will remain in Jordan. Jordan, although receives aid from the United States and wants relationship with the United States, will not turn this woman in. So the fight will continue and continue. And it's important that it will not die down, because in the end, everyone has to go and pay the price for killing innocent Jews.
Thank you. Alan, please unmute.
Yes, Nitsana, you mentioned the accusation of war crimes, and everybody talks about, quote, international law. But I heard one opinion that says, in fact, there is no such thing, that international law is just a collection of agreements between countries who decide whether they want to follow them or not, and really isn't any kind of law process at all. Would you agree with that definition? And if so, how does this affect the work you do?
I agree. International law is a bunch of treaties and agreements. The Geneva Convention, the Hague Convention from 1907, or the Geneva Convention from 1949, and other conventions or the Rome Treaty from 1998. Countries from all over gather up and sign treaties. And this should be the one that they should compel themselves to respect, honor. This is how international law is created. The problem is that there are no cases interpreting these treaties. Meaning, when a treaty says that genocide is an international law violation, there are not enough cases in the world that had genocide to describe exactly what genocide is. Genocide is killing 50 people. Genocide is killing 500 people. Genocide is killing 5,000 people. And what does it come to? Does it come with an intention to kill? And how exactly it comes in reality? What type of action somebody must take in order to be charged for genocide? So over the years, there are scholars, not judges, because as I said, there are no cases. Scholars interpreting the international law. So some of them come and say, if you push out a population from an area and risking their life, that means that you have intention to commit genocide against these people. Or if you block humanitarian aid to the area, that means that you want to starve these people, which goes and falls into the definition of genocide. Obviously, if you are killing them, or even if you're killing civilian facilities, that means that you want to prevent this population from enjoying the civil facilities, because your end goal is to commit genocide against them. So Israel is put on trial in the public domain, not in court yet, for genocide. And the arguments are clear. They said Israel pushed all the population to the southern part of the Gaza Strip, genocide. Israel is bombing hospitals, schools, kindergarten, civil facilities, so this is genocide. Israel prevents humanitarian aid, so it imposed starvation, genocide. And Israel has to defend itself from these allegations, which is easy to the reasonable person if you really want to listen and you really want to believe. So Israel pushed the population of the southern part of the Gaza Strip to secure their life, in order for them to go and kill the terrorists who surround themselves with civilians. There is no choice. You must separate between the terrorists to the civilians. And the safest way to do it is to move them all to one part of the strip. But over there, in this part of the strip, you give them humanitarian aid. And this is what Israel did. Israel created a tent city. They host the population there and give them all food, humanitarian aid they need. Israel, when they bomb hospitals and kindergarten and school, is because these facilities are no longer civil infrastructure. It became military infrastructure because Hamas used them to hide their launchers and rockets and to shoot missiles towards Israel from them and to hide themselves and to base their commands in them and to dig tunnels underneath them. They no longer civil facilities, and Israel has the right, according to the international law, to target these facilities. And the last argument, observation, as we said before, Israel sent tens of thousands of tons of food and humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip in the past 2 years. If Israel wanted to really commit genocide, they would not do that. And they will also not leave the border open. Israel is the first one to call the Gazan civilians to leave the Gaza Strip if they wish, not forcefully, but willingly. And if Israel wanted to do genocide against these people, they would not let them, give them a safe path to leave the Gaza Strip. But where do you say all these things? Who you say it to? To the International Court of Justice that 2 months into the war already judging Israel and investigating Israel commit war crimes against the Gazan population. You go into the International Criminal Court that instead of issuing arrest warrants against Hamas, went and issued against warrants against Israel. These are all political courts. They are not courts, they are political institutes, and you cannot bring these allegations to. The only playground for international law arguments is the public domain. And unfortunately, even there, Israel is losing the battle. When the media is controlled by Hamas and the media is taking the propaganda in Hamas and send it and spreads it as it was true facts, Israel has a problem. So we find ourselves once again rely on the United States mega power. Trump took actions against the international courts, justices and prosecutors, and imposed personal sanctions against them. He is going to take also sanctions against the International Court of Justice if they go this way against Israel. He is pulling his full weight against any country that even thinking to arrest Netanyahu or former Defense Minister Gallant if they step foot in these countries. And he's basically the one who can save us from these genocidal allegations. I hope, Israel hopes, that by this ceasefire, and if the war really will come down, the world also will go back from these allegations. There is no guarantee to it, the opposite. I think that for those who are faking it and for those who hate Israel no matter what, it will serve as a good ground to go after Israel, even if the hostility is ending, even if the violence is ending.
Thank you, Nitsana. Unfortunately, we are out of time for this evening. I can see we've got lots of questions and we could keep you on for it. How do we support the work you're doing? How do we support Shurat HaDin Israel Law Center? What can we do to support you?
So Israel, thank you for that question. The Israel Law Center, Shurat HaDin, is a non-profit organization. It's based solely on donation. You can go on our website, Shurat HaDin, Israel Law Center, and we will welcome any contribution you have in order to fight these battles. In addition, we run missions to Israel, and you are all welcome. They are life-changing experience. We call it a Mossad mission because we meet with former Mossad officials and Shin Bet agents, and go to the military court to watch a trial of a Hamas terrorist, and go to obviously the Nova and the kibbutzim, but mainly learning how Israel is fighting for its survival and what can we do in order to help the state of Israel, to help fighting anti-Semitism and terrorism against the Jewish state. So I welcome you all to come on these missions. Again, you can go and see the dates in the website. Today, actually, we have our November mission. We have another one coming up in May.
Thank you, Nitsana. And I've put the link in our chat. That's for the people who are watching on Facebook Live or listening to the recording on YouTube or JAir. That is israellawcenter.org. And I encourage you to go to israellawcenter.org/donate and leave a donation. We are looking forward to seeing you. We'll be, as we mentioned, in Israel in June, and we'd love to come and visit you to take our participants to the Israel Law Center. Nitsana, from all of us here, from everyone who's online, it's been such an incredible and engaging evening. All we can say is thank you so much for the work that you were doing, for the passion that you put into everything, for everything that the Israel Law Center is doing to protect us, to defend us, and to defend what's right. It's been such a pleasure to have you on this evening. We thank you for your time, and we only hope that we can have you on again soon. Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.